My name is John Tennell, and I just got back from Tanzania, Africa, about 2 weeks ago. I've been pretty busy since I hit the ground, but I thought I would share my experience with you guys because I take a lot of pictures and videos, and then I post them, and a lot of people are like, hey, I want to take you out to lunch, and I want you to tell me all about Africa, and I'm like, I don't have that much time. I'm a pretty busy dude. So here's my explanation. Just imagine that we're at lunch, and that you're asking me a bunch of questions, and I'm showing you all the pictures and videos because it's going to be the same story no matter how many times I tell it. So Tanzania, a lot of you guys probably don't know, is on the east coast of Africa. It's 400 miles south of the equator, so they roughly get one long season, which is pretty much always the same temperature. It is not hot like Texas necessarily in the summertime, but it is, you know, I guess 60s to 90s every day when we were there. So I'm going to tell you from my point of view what I saw. This doesn't mean that this is everything about Tanzania. I am certainly not an expert. I've only been there for 17 days of my life, and I only saw what I saw out of my own two eyes. So I'm going to share my experience with you guys, and if you guys have critical things to say, then please send those messages telepathically, because that way I don't have to listen to them, because I can't pick up, I don't have that receptor in my brain. Will had rented us a Land Rover, and so we got that, and we got it all loaded up, and it had a hard time starting, but apparently that's normal when you rent something over in a third world country. So we got that to work, and we drove to our first night, which was in a hotel. It's not what we'd consider a hotel, but nevertheless, that's where we stayed. It was called the Corona House, but it was Corona with a K, so none of us actually got sick from that. It was actually a pretty little place. They had a bunch of stuff growing all around there. They had lots of fruit and palm trees and cool stuff, and so that was pretty to wake up to. Obviously, in Tanzania, you have to worry about malaria, so we started taking malaria medicine 2 days before we left, and then we took it the entire time that we were there, and then we're taking it for a month after we leave because we don't want to get malaria. In the village that we went to, almost everybody had malaria, so we brought malaria medicine with us to help them as well. We were driving to the place that we were gonna be, and then all of a sudden we're like, wait, what's that in the middle of the road? And we stopped, and there's this chameleon. We flew into Tanzania last night, and you know, we had quite an adventure already. But we're just driving along, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. This chameleon is just walking across the road. And so we stopped and did it, right? Pretty cool though.
He's coming around.
Yeah, look at him. So actually, look at him.
Hello, baboon. Would you like to have some grass? Well, you're in luck. There's grass everywhere. Have a good day. Oh, hello, other baboon.
Should have just talked. So I travel a lot, and people ask me, what is your favorite place? What is the most beautiful place that you've been? And my answer pretty much remains the same. And that is that every place has a beauty of its own, and every person has a beauty of their own if you look for it. Personally, I think that a real key to happiness is to not constantly compare what you're going through with what you want it to be, or this place compared to that place, or whatever. A key to happiness is just finding the beauty of the place that you're in, finding the beauty of the people that you're with, loving the person that's in front of you, and doing the next right thing. And I think that if you do that, you're gonna be happy no matter what in the world comes your way. So I took a lot of pictures of people when I was in Tanzania. I like to take pictures of people because I think that people are beautiful. I think that all of us are made in the image of God, and that if you brush the prejudice that we have aside, and you just start looking through all that mess and all the lenses that we look through, and just look at that person and go, I see God in you. I see there's beauty in you. There's something that I can learn from you. You may not know the things that I know, but you know something that I don't know, and I want to find that. And so I think that that's an important thing. And so when I see people, I try to take their picture. I try to take their picture when they're not looking, but sometimes, you know, they look. Because when you're not paying attention, that's when your true beauty kind of comes out, I think. You're just going about your day-to-day life, and if somebody can capture that, then they're like, this is a beautiful thing. So here's some people that I think are beautiful. Let me tell you about the guys that went on our trip. It was myself, John Tennell, then James Bedwell, who is a mighty man of God and a prayer warrior, Cullen Robinson, who is also a mighty man of God, a young man, 18, but he's got a great heart. And then Will Hoffman. And I want to take a minute to talk about Will Hoffman. So Will Hoffman was a missionary in Tanzania for 4 years, and he learned their language, and he lived in several different places in Tanzania. And one of those places was in the Hadza Valley, and one of them was in a place called Mbulu.
So hey, we're in Mbulu. This is a town in the highlands above the Hadza Valley. And when my wife and I and our daughter lived here, this was the house we would go to once a month for a few days to get vegetables and fruit and to get water and do laundry. So we called this the Red House. It's a little older than it was then, but this was a place of refuge and silence and comfort, and we would come here and rest between our jobs. It was great.
We ended up buying 5 tons of corn. That is an entire dump truck filled with corn. So that's enough to feed this entire village for a month. We also brought fruit and vegetables and other food. And we brought, I think, 5 live chickens so that they could hopefully breed the chickens and not just eat them. And then have more chickens there, and a lot of medicine. I think like $2,000 worth of medicine, but $2,000 worth of medicine here will get you like a pill in America, and maybe the doctor will kind of glance in your direction. But over there, $2,000 worth of medicine filled up the back of the Land Rover. He got so much medicine that helped so many people, and it was a beautiful thing to witness and to watch him. He would listen to them, find out what their problem was, and then explain to them how the medicine worked, and then just give them. I mean, we didn't charge obviously anybody any money for any of this stuff, right? We just were like, you've got a problem, we're here to help. And so then we did. I don't even know how many people got helped. I estimate hundreds of people got help that probably was life-changing to them. And I know of at least 2 people on the trip that we probably saved their lives. I'm just grateful that we got to be a part of that. But countless others got all kinds of medicine for malaria and for infections and for eye infections and just all kinds of things. And Will is just so gentle and kind with everybody. And he spoke with them and he made them feel at home. He has a rapport with them because he's been with them on and off for 25 years. And so watching him interact with those people, to me, was a beautiful thing. Almost nowhere that we went had running water. And instead of having running water, they would basically have to fill up cans, jerry cans is what they call them, filled with water, or like water bottles if they would get a water bottle. So if we were done with a water bottle, we would just think to throw it away, but they were like, don't throw that away because we want that. And so the people would come and like take any empty bottles that we had because they could use them. But they would put a little bit of soap in one of these bottles and then a bunch of water, and then they would kind of pour that in your hands. You rub them together and somebody hold it like a dish underneath you, and then somebody would pour water over top of your hand so you could kind of rinse the soap off. We are on day 4 of our Tanzania trip, and we were having a blast. We're learning a whole lot. We're in the city of Mbulu. And I did want to share something that is interesting to probably people at home. So showering here is a challenge. We're about to not be able to shower for 8 days, I think, which is going to be a bigger challenge because, you know, I care about my hair. So here's how the shower works. We've got the toilet. Mine doesn't work in this particular bathroom. I don't know why. Then your toilet paper would go here. Of course, I don't have any because the toilet doesn't work. So then here's the shower. That doesn't work either. So what they do is they bring you a bucket of scalding hot water. Okay, it's like burn your skin, boil your potatoes water. They happen to leave this other bucket here, so I filled it up with water from the sink. And I was like, well, how do I mix this and take a shower in this? Because this is the challenge. This is like a real puzzle. So I got my empty water bottle and I stuck it in the scalding hot water, trying not to burn my fingers, and got a little bit of hot water and then a bunch of cold water, and I'm like, okay, not enough. So 3 bottles later, my hair's finally wet. Then I'm like, okay, let's mix shampoo into this mess. Oh my goodness. So then it was a challenge, like, how do I make enough hot water last through this whole experience? Because it's not like you can go underneath and just do it, right? You got one hand holding it, and you're like, how do I get my armpits clean? It's a real challenge. So we are having a blast. I'm not trying to put anybody down or anything like that. I just think that this was a funny experience. We just happened to be in a place where the showers weren't working. From here on out, we're not gonna have them, but they weren't working, and the toilet wasn't working, and find that to be amusing. So I thought I would share that experience with you.
So the corn we brought, now they're going to divide it up so everyone gets an equal share. So we brought the corn not for the huts, we brought the corn for the village or the settlement or the reservation. So everyone here that's part of this settlement will get an equal share.
And right now they're talking about how they're going to divide it up?
Yeah. Everyone's going to, when their name is called, they'll come forward, they'll get their amount. And then they'll take all that and dump it in a big pile, measure it out.
And how much corn is that?
5 tons.
Cool.
So a bag of that will feed a family for a month. So, and that's a meal a day, so I mean, they don't eat a lot, but still, good deal. Thank you.
Yep.
Magangkan dulu mo. Magangkan dulu mo. Deputy Joanna. Deputy Joanna. Baby.
So this is where we used to live, these trees right here. This was like the big shady spots. We had our house right here. That long branch right there, we had a swing, which was loads of fun because people had never been on a swing. So especially men would come and push the kids off and get on and then start crying because I wouldn't let them off, so it was fun.
Who would cry?
The grown men
Would cry because?
they were scared. They'd never been on a swing. It was fun. And look at our view though. This is what we'd wake up to every morning. Spectacular.
That's a pretty big tree, huh?
It's a big tree. This is a big tree. I mean, I'm a big guy, but you see how big the tree is.
That's pretty cool.
It's very cool.
And what's it called again, Will?
Baobab. That is Hoffman ingenuity right there.
Really?
Because they always had the single dome, but we all worked on it and came up with this double dome with a little breezeway.
Very cool.
Which to my knowledge, I can't prove it, but didn't exist before that.
Pretty cool. And so what's that made out of?
It's a certain grass together. So it sticks like that, kind of bent over.
Mm-hmm.
And then they pile the grass on it. It's not really a weave, it's got a couple strings to hold it on. It leaks like the dickens.
Sure.
The good news is you can cook in it so the smoke evacuates. The bad news is you're cooking in a grass house.
It could not be bad.
It makes you feel funny.
That's funny.
So.
And then is this their hedge of protection?
Yes, this is the boma.
That way creatures and people don't come.
That's true. Like nosy white tourists. You can see the three.
Oh,
So this
three
house probably was used and is now, like either it's falling apart or they're just starting to build up but having grass.
That's where they cook. And this is what it looks like before.
I don't know. We gathered it with them, but I don't know really what it is.
And that's after. So we're here in Tanzania, and I apologize to anybody who already knew this, but apparently I'm huge in Tanzania. Allow me to elaborate. You see, when I came here, I thought I'd be roughly the same size as everybody else, maybe slightly short. I'm kind of an extra medium kind of guy, but look at their houses. Hey guys, wanna come on out? They're down in here. There's about 23 Tanzanians that live in here. They are chickens, but still, they're Tanzanians. That's all I gotta say. So, a lot of you have heard the term hedge of protection. And you know, a lot of times like with Job, then people said, well, Job had a hedge of protection around him, and so the devil couldn't get him. Well, this is what this means. The Hadza people do this. They take these thorns, which are everywhere, and they make this hedge of protection around them. This is actually the door. So you can move this out of the way, and then move it back in the way, and it keeps people out, and it keeps animals out, and yeah, whatever. So then these are their grass huts over here, which is pretty interesting. But sometimes, maybe you're inside your hedge of protection, you're in your grass hut, you're out here, you're like, I don't know what time it is, I haven't got to check the weather today, I need to charge my cell phone. So you put a solar panel up on top of your grass hut, and that way, you know, you can like check your Facebook. Our camp is down here. Go ahead and show them. You can't really see because there's a tree right there. But it's way down there, and we've been looking at this mountain. We've been looking at this mountain, and we wanted to climb it. And I'm going to be honest with you, when I say we, what I mean is me. And all these guys are like, I guess we got to keep him safe. So while we were climbing up, Thomas here, show him. Very smart, very strong. Saw a black mamba, and he killed it with his bare hands, and then bit his head off. First he gave it a karate chop, and then and threw it down, and then he kept the snake, and we threw it down the hill, so we're going to eat that later. And so that happened. Anyway, so this is, they got a radio tower over here that they brought in. The government brought that in. And then this is where the town is that we've been. And then as you pan across over here, then that's where our camp is over here. And this is where we've been. So, and then, oh, if you look, we climbed to the very top of the mountain. Sorry, there's another, whatever, 60 feet up there. They tell me that only birds can climb up that high. See, there's one right there.
I didn't know birds climbed.
They do. They climb with their little, they are little climbers. So they've got their two feet, and then they've got their wings, and they have little hooks on their wings, and they climb up with that.
I see.
That's how it works.
Very cool.
And then see the children do this, which makes us seem very less tough because they're doing it basically barefoot in rubber tire shoes. So at the beginning, I would say, "Oh, hey, yeah, I'm John. What do you do for a living?" You know, somebody would translate. And after a while, Will's like, "Stop saying that," because they don't understand. There's no interpretation. There's no translation for what you're saying. Because they don't do anything for a living. Like, I build houses for a living, I do video work for a living, I'm an actor, I'm an author, I'm a musician for a living. These are things that I do to make money so that I can then go buy things that I want or need. Over there, they don't have that luxury. Where we were, they don't have a job. Their job, their living is literally just living. Like, I need to go and try to find something to eat and maybe kill it or grow it or whatever, hopefully earn it, and then I'm going to try to cook that, and then I'm going to eat that, and that's what I do for a living. I survive, I live. And so it's a different mindset. I didn't see any clocks, I didn't see any calendars. A lot of them don't know how old they are at all. At one point I kind of played this game and kind of guessed everybody's ages, and they had a lot of fun with that, and several people just had no clue how old they were. They couldn't say, I've been alive for 50 winters, because there are no winters. They didn't have a calendar, they didn't have, you know, there's no internet, there's no electricity, there's a lot of them can't read, and so they're just like, you know, they kind of make up a number. I'm 100. You're like, you're not 100, you're 40 or whatever. But something else I found interesting was the fact that most people, and this is even middle class people, if you will cook over an open fire, and they find 3 rocks, and they put those 3 rocks together, and then they can kind of balance a pot on those rocks, and they have the fire that goes underneath these rocks. And then if they want to kind of turn the heat down, if you will, they pull the sticks back away from the center of the fire, and that kind of turns the heat down. Or if they want the fire to be hotter, then they kind of put more sticks underneath there, and then that makes for more heat. And so that is how all the cooking that I saw took place like that. Like, I don't think we saw anybody with an actual stove. In America, we take a lot of things for granted. And one of those things that I've learned is water. Right now it's about to rain here. It looks very cloudy. This doesn't happen very often, except if we're here to camp. But water is a valuable commodity. And am I right? They used to have to walk miles every day, like half their day.
4 hours.
4 hours, one way or both ways?
Both ways, 4 hours.
So 4 hours round trip?
Yep.
To get water every day, not clean water.
No, so as a result, they just didn't get water. They were mostly dehydrated, didn't wash stuff, didn't bathe, because it was too hard to get.
So there is not a water source around here. There's not a lake, there's not a river, there's not a stream.
No.
And then Will was here, and at the end of his trip, he asked them,
what do you want? Which we do every trip, and they always say they want a well, but a well is very expensive, so I always ignore them and say, what else do you want?
Right, you want like a bracelet? You want like a popsicle stick?
Or donkeys, or a plow, or
popsicle stick,
like
something cheap, right? So Will's daughter,
Violet,
who was how old?
12 years old.
12 years old, says, Dad,
we should get him a well. So she went home and looked on World Vision's website, and it said at the time you could drill a well for $3,000. So her and her friends started baking baked goods and then offering them for donations at church, and they raised $3,000. Took them about 6 months.
They raised, so a 12-year-old that had a vision, that had the faith to understand how this works, raised $3,000.
Yep, a lot of money.
And then what happened?
Well, then we called World Vision and said, hey, we have $3,000, we'd like a well. And they explained to us that $3,000 is an average. So in the Philippines, you can hand dig a well for $300. In sub-Saharan Africa, you can drill a well for $22,000 to $25,000. That's where we are now.
And that's where we are now.
Yep.
So then she gave up.
I gave up. I said, honey, let's just send it into World Vision, get a well. She said, no, I want a well for the Hadza. So she said, I'm going to go pray about it with my friends, because she had a group that was doing this. So they went and prayed, and they said, you know, God gave us 3,000. What's 22, 25? So they kept going.
So you're telling me that a 12-year-old, was she 13 by that point?
Close, yeah.
Said, I have the faith to believe that we can raise this money, and I want to put this into action. And then what happened?
And they did. It took 3 years. So for 3 years, they baked every Sunday, and they did, you know, fundraising dinners, and they did all they could, garage sales, but they raised $25,000.
Was that a miserable process for them?
No, I think it was a great group, because instead of just gathering to say we're friends, they gathered with a purpose, and so it was great.
And that made a difference. And then what happened?
So then they raised the money for the well, and then they decided they wanted to be here for the well to be dug. So they raised an additional $3,500 each to come here and be part of the well ceremony.
And then they dug a well.
And then they got here. Now, we didn't actually get to the actual digging. The machines were here, and they were digging right here, and they struck water, which was good, because we were praying about that. But they did a couple puncture points, and there's basically a big reservoir underground, so it gushed up pressure into some lower ones.
Right.
So we were able to put several spots around the village to get water from that pressure.
So there was a lower
Aquifer, I think they call
aquifer,
it.
right? They punctured that, it filled up a higher aquifer, and because of that, then you got to get several banks for your buck kind of all around town.
So it was a good deal.
So you're telling me that a 12-year-old had the faith to just go, I see a need, and then didn't stop, even when things got hard.
Yeah.
And did something really Herculean.
It was. I'm very proud of her. She's
and changed the whole dynamic of this.
Yeah, people don't fetch water anymore. They go down and get it, and then they have time. That means the girls can go to school. They can spend more time on farming.
Right.
They're cleaner, so they do wash their clothes more, and they drink more, and I was dehydrated, so it's a really good deal.
That is a beautiful story about, you know, the Bible says in James that faith without works is dead, like the body is without the soul. And when I see a lot of people that go, oh yeah, no, I got faith, I prayed about it one time. I'm like, that's cute. But this to me is what faith is about. Faith is about, we saw a need, we believed God, we did our part, He took care of the rest, but we kept doing our part until it was done.
Yeah.
Right? Hey. And I think that makes all the difference in the world. To me, that's a beautiful story. And right now, it is my understanding that you have a heart for these people.
I do, yep.
And it's not proper to toot your own horn. So I'm going to toot Will's horn here for a second, okay? I'm just going to tell you.
I'm tall, I'm good looking, that kind of like that.
Will is a beautiful person, and he's humble. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you what Will is. Will is 100% qualified and capable, and he loves these people. Like, I have watched him for the last 10 days, and he loves these people. He knows their language, he knows their culture, he's well respected by them. He goes anywhere around, and people are like, Willie, Willie, Willie. They know who he is, right? He has helped them for decades. And Will has a calling on his heart to be with these people, because yesterday we were told that Christians come and they say, oh yeah, you need Jesus. And like, here's some trinkets or whatever. We're out of here, good luck. Or they ask for money like denomination dues or something, right? But Will has it on his heart to come here and be with these people. And his family does too, they love it, right? And it's effortless, and I watch it and I'm like, you were made for this. Like, you were 100% made for this. You're qualified, you know the language, you know the culture. Like, it would take so long to get somebody just to the point where you're at right now. And it costs so very little, relatively speaking, to get you here, that it is my heart's desire, has become my heart's desire since we got here, to make a way for you to be here.
That'd be great.
Right.
And I think not be here all the time, but be here to help them, because they need to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. So my dreams would be they'd have a Bible in their own language.
Yep.
They'd have not a church building, but they would gather together and have some training to do that.
Right.
And then also just community development. They would learn just what's available here and how to get the best life out of this system.
And it's difficult to do that when you come for 2 weeks.
It is. It's hard.
Right? We're just trying to set up our own camp.
Right.
But to have any kind of an infrastructure, or to have any kind of a future, then I think that you really need to be here with them. And we've talked a lot about the fact that a lot of church doesn't happen in a building. A lot of church doesn't happen in a formal gathering. A lot of church happens around a campfire.
Yeah, it does.
Right? It happens working side by side with somebody. It happens whenever you're there with the people and some tragedy happens and you inconvenience yourself to help that person out. And they go, this guy believes it.
Yeah.
Like he lives his faith out, right? And to me, for us to be able to help you out and for us to not help you out to do this doesn't seem right. So what I'm asking for, and we haven't worked out the logistics, is that if you feel the least bit compelled, if you have any money set aside and you're like, I wish that there was some worthwhile thing that I could give to, I promise you this is not going to some big organization. This is not going to get sucked up in administrative fees. This is going to go straight to literally helping Will to help these people. And I can't think of a better investment in eternity than to do that. And so if you find it on your heart, you get in touch with me or you get in touch with Will, and we will find a way, because I think just the way that Violet wanted these people to have water, Will wants these people to have a life. And he told me I would be here for the rest of my life and just be with them and love them, even if none of them came to Jesus. Am I wrong?
Yeah, sure.
And when you love somebody that much that you're willing to sacrifice yourself and invest your entire life into them, I think that's a beautiful thing. And I am honored to be a part of that, and I will not rest until we find a way for you to do this. So,
I like it.
Yeah, you rock, Will Hoffman. It's New Year's Eve 2020, and I know what you're thinking. How else could we make this any more exciting? Stop, Colin. All right, so how else could we make this any more exciting? I'll tell you. Hold on, hold on.
We had backpacking food.
We did eat backpacking food. That's not the highlight of our day. This morning we climbed this mountain. As we're climbing, we see a black mamba right next to us in a tree. We fight it off for a bit. Thomas almost, he pulls back. No, don't show him. Thomas pulls back a bow and arrow. He's ready to kill his black mamba. We go to the top, we see this crazy lizard. Then we come back down, same black mamba's in the tree. Thomas is ready to kill him. We're there. It's crazy talk. Then we're like, we should get a goat to celebrate. This is Will's idea because he's cool like that. We walk 3 miles through the rain. We stop in some place. There's this goat who's peeing right now. Then we're like, how do we get this goat home? So this kid grabs this goat by the back leg and is like, "Mah, mah, mah." And we're like, how in the world are we gonna get this goat back through the mud and everything, right? so we don't know. We're like, we wish we had a rope, but we're too stupid for a rope. So then out of nowhere, what happens? Thomas is like, I'll make rope out of tree bark. So he pulls out a knife, whoosh, and he starts hacking away at the tree bark. And he's like braiding this rope and he's gonna make it. And then what happens? Crazier. It's 2020. So all of a sudden, Bushman comes out. He's missing an eye. He's rough. I shake his hand. I'm like, golly, you got iron in your fist. And he's like, why don't you stop looking for a rope and man up and just throw that goat over your shoulder? And Will's like, I don't think so. So then he's like, let me show you how it's done. So he grabs the goat, walks through the mud barefoot, through thorns and everything, 3 miles, gets over here. We got the goat now. But what can we do to top that in 2020 and finish this year off right? We got a flaming arrow. Hold on a second. Check this out. Check this out. Okay, here comes. Oh, that's just torching right up. Look at that.
Oh.
Watch, this is like fireworks, but different. Wait, not yet, not yet. You got it?
Let it go.
Aim high. Oh! Just like 2020, that tennis ball is a dud. We'll see you guys next year or in 5 minutes.